But one farmer says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal too.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
We shall seek to establish and maintain a dollar which will not change its purchasing and debt-paying power during the succeeding generation.
As anguished shrieks rose up from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Government credit and government currency are really one and the same thing. A reserve of gold and a small reserve of silver.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
There is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of the Junius Maltby channel, the most boring channel on YouTube. Today we are going to take you on a journey into the depths of the Federal Reserve System and the ownership of gold at the official government price of $42.22. Every once in a while, I find myself perusing information or remembering things I had perused in the past, and then I enter my internet time machine and I go find those pages again. This is a topic I have neglected to share with all of you as far as I can recall. I don't remember ever doing a video on these specific information we're going to discuss today. We've talked about the Federal Reserve, we've talked about gold, we've talked about the history of the U.S. Coinage Act, banking, the formation of the Federal Reserve, gold confiscation, and all of that, but we've never really dove deep into the present state of things today. Federal Reserve, bank, gold. I'm just going to show you quickly what's on the internet now as far as the answers to typical questions people ask when they type things into Google. Because you can Google things and it brings you to these pages, and it seems that people seem to type these questions in quite often because it generates them for you when you begin to type them into the Google search bar. Now, we're going to start off with just some general questions, and then we're going to follow links and enter the rabbit hole like Alice. And you're going to be surprised where it leads us when we follow these links. And we could go further. I myself became lost this evening in doing this journey. And I became so lost, I got scared. And I left the internet and I went and I ate dinner instead. And now I'm going to take you where I left off and we'll go through this together. This first one here is Federal Reserve Bank Gold. It gives you a quick synopsis. At the peak in 1973, the gold vault contained 12,000 short tons or 11,000 metric tons of gold. As of 2019, the vault housed approximately 6,190 short tons, or 5,620 metric tons of gold. So a lot of the gold is no longer there compared to what was there in 1973. Nearly 98% of the gold at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York is owned by the central banks of 36 foreign nations. It's located at 33 Liberty Street, Manhattan, New York City. And it's really deep underground, my friends. And there are pictures of it all over the internet. We're not going to get into that tonight. You've seen those. It was built between 1919 and 1924. 1935, they did the Eastern Extension. Architectural style, Florentine Renaissance. No one really cares. Does the Federal Reserve have gold? Gold certificates are denominated in U.S. dollars. Although the Federal Reserve does not own any gold, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York acts as the custodian of gold owned by account holders, such as the U.S. government. So the U.S. government owns gold, but the Fed holds it for them. I would call that more like collateral. Foreign governments, other central banks, and official international organizations. I wonder who these international organizations might be. I'll tell you right now, many of the questions I had were left unanswered. And I would have to say that I perhaps left the sites that I visited more confused than when I found them. And I believe that's done on purpose. This is one of those things where the evidence trail is so mysterious and it's ripe for corruption. It's one of those situations where we have to just take them at their word, if you know what I mean. And when you're talking about thousands of millions or billions or thousands of millions and trillions, it's, well, let's just say that there might be a little bit of a motivation there to fudge numbers and to hide things. I'm going to tell you right now that I went off also and looked for silver, because there are things called, and we'll show you this, silver strategic stockpiles or silver reserves, and I could not find the actual number amounts of ounces held. They just tell you dollar amounts of gold and silver. They don't tell you how much silver or even where it is. There's not much information that I could find. Now, that's not saying it's not there, because I'm not that smart, and I might not be as investigative as some of you, but I was unable to really locate in diving into this a lot of the information that I wanted to find also on silver, government-owned silver, because we all know that the U.S. once had a strategic stockpile of silver. But let's continue. How much gold does the Federal Reserve have? Well, we just saw that they don't own any, so the answer to that's 0. But this says gold bullion reserves, on the other hand, are held at the Federal Reserve Bank vaults in New York, where they weigh in at 13,376,987.724 troy ounces, about 458 tons, with book value estimated at, stand by, $42.22 per fine troy ounce, officially $42.2222 per troy ounce. The total book value of all U.S. government gold reserves throughout the country is at $11,041,059,957. Now that's the total book value, and the book value is $42.22. Remember that. You have to remember that throughout the course of this. And at the very end of this video, we're going to talk about this $42. We all know this story, and we don't have time to go all the way back to it, but we'll quickly rehash it for visitors from other countries or those that are new on the channel. The history of the value of gold in the United States was $20.67 for the longest time, until FDR banned gold, seized it, confiscating it from the citizens, and revalued gold to $35 per ounce, effectively instantly devaluing the purchasing power of the dollar to fund his social welfare state. They then revalued gold again after Bretton Woods, and going forward, we have it at $42, and it's stayed there ever since, $42.22. And there might be one other valuation that took place at some point in there, but I know that it currently stands officially, according to the government, a troy ounce of gold. Those of you that have them, get one out, hold it in your hand. It's 42 US dollars. Now, I'd love to know how many of you, or whoever, would sell an ounce of gold for $42.22. If you would, let me know. I'd be happy to send you some cold, hard cash, or some little coupons that have dead presidents' faces stamped in ink upon them. Who owns the gold at Fort Knox? We all know of Fort Knox. Ever since we were children, there was talk and discussion regarding Fort Knox and the gold in Fort Knox. Oh, if you could get the gold in Fort Knox. And there were so many rumors and mythologies around, who protected it, and how many tanks were there, and how many troops were there, and it was surrounded by fences and vaults and all kinds of secret, mysterious booby traps, perhaps. Well, the U.S. Treasury currently owns 8,134 tons of gold, which 7,716 tons is stored by the U.S. Mint. 4,583 tons at Fort Knox, 1,364 tons in Denver, 1,682 tons at West Point, and 418 tons at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which we just discussed. And this is from June 2nd, 2015. I'm sure the numbers have changed slightly. I then fell into this rabbit hole. I entered www. federalreserve.gov. Frequently asked questions, does the Federal Reserve have any gold? Something like that. That's not the entire web address, but you can easily find this. And it takes you to the Federal Reserve website, the official .gov website. And you are greeted by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, which is not federal and has no reserves, provides the nation with a safe, flexible, and stable monetary and financial system. Stable financial system. It hasn't been very stable since the founding of the Fed in 1913. Since then, it's been quite cataclysmic and volatile, if you know what I mean. And I think any of you who have seen the stock market of late, in the last month or two, would agree that it's far from being a stable monetary and financial system. It's on the brink of a catastrophic implosion, as a matter of fact. But that's an entirely different conversation than why we are here today. We're just here to talk about and look for their gold and see what they have to say about it. So let's read it in their own words, straight from the horse's mouth. Does the Federal Reserve own or hold gold? The Federal Reserve does not own gold. The Gold Reserve Act of 1934 required the Federal Reserve System to transfer ownership of all of its gold to the Department of the Treasury. In exchange, the Secretary of the Treasury issued gold certificates to the Federal Reserve for the amount of gold transferred at the then applicable statutory price for gold held by the Treasury. So, $35 per ounce. Gold certificates are denominated in U.S. dollars. Their value is based on the statutory price for gold at the time the certificates are issued, $35 per ounce. Gold certificates do not give the Federal Reserve any right to redeem the certificates for gold. So they don't own the gold, and they don't have any right to redeem the certificates they hold for the gold, or so we are told. The statutory price of gold is set by law, and we all know that, the law is the law. It is what it is, it says what it says, obey it, or men with guns will either kill you or put you in a cage. That's the end result, always. It does not fluctuate with the market price of gold, and has been constant at $42.02 or $42.22 per fine troy ounce since 1973. So it's been $42 an ounce. That's the statutory price by law. It does not fluctuate with the market. They don't own any. They just hold certificates that tell them they, have it or could own it if the government wanted to give it to them or something. The book value of the gold held by the Treasury is determined using the statutory price. So when you see the book value, it's $42.22 per ounce. And that's what they hold. That's what the certificates by law state. Now I remember as a young man, a friend of mine who would get the Wall Street Journal, and he pointed out to me that every single time the Wall Street Journal came out, it had the official statutory price of gold by the Fed in there. And it was always listed at $42.22 an ounce. And I don't know if it's still there or where it was. I just remember seeing it somewhere in print. And I've never held a copy really or subscribed to the Wall Street Journal. And I don't know if it's still there today or not. I just recall that past conversation when I was much younger, however, still very much interested and infected with gold fever. Now let us continue. Although the Federal Reserve does not own any gold, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York acts as the custodian of gold owned by account holders such as the U.S. government, foreign governments, other central banks, and official international organizations. No individuals or private sector entities are permitted to store gold in the vault of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York or at any Federal Reserve Bank. A small portion of the gold held by the U.S. Treasury, roughly $600 million in book value, and remember, always remember, book value is $42 per ounce, or $42.22, but I'm going to say 42 just to shorten it. So they hold roughly $600 million in book value. About 5% is held in custody for the Treasury by the Federal Reserve banks as fiscal agents of the United States. The vast majority of this gold is located in the vault at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and a very small portion is on display in several Federal Reserve banks. The remaining 95% of U.S. Treasury gold, $10.4 billion in book value, again, $42 per ounce, is held in custody for the Treasury by the U.S. Mint. I'm going to burn this into your mind because it's pertinent to the conversation at the conclusion of today's video. It's valued at $42.22 per fine troy ounce. That is the book value. That is the value by statute, by law, the statutory value. That is the value at which all the gold certificates that are issued to the Fed state the value of gold is. Now within these pages are several links that take you down various rabbit holes and audits and troves of information and documents and reports, much of which contains information I really don't care to peruse, as it's more boring than even this boring channel can be. But there's this link here, status report of U.S. Treasury owned gold. Figured why not? Let's follow it. So with my right hand, I clicked the mouse and entered this page, redirecting to the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, the Financial Management Service, and the Bureau of the Public Debt. The Public Debt have consolidated into the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. You will now be redirected to the Bureau of the Fiscal Service website. If you are not redirected in 8 seconds, you can continue to this site by visiting fiscal.treasury.gov, Bureau of the Fiscal Service. And this page did stay up for almost 8 seconds. It sat there and paused. I think it gave them time to relocate my or locate my IP address and just find out who exactly is looking at this information. Try to activate the webcam, maybe listen to me a little bit, and see what's going on. I'm not paranoid or anything, but come on now, we're talking about a lot of gold valued at $42 an ounce. And soon the screen fills with the typical government images of propaganda and quotas and affirmative action, and a nice little cross-section of color, different races, nationalities, demographics, and age groups, all featured there as the general public. It's like a rainbow. And then, of course, the government agencies with their Greco-Roman architecture as an empire standing tall, providing ownership and governance over all people. And there you can see business and institutions, happy people shaking hands as they make deals. Well, this is the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. I didn't really know what to do when I came to this page because I clicked on it to see a report on gold. So I had to go to a search bar. And it's here I wrote that 4-letter word representing the archaic and barbarous relic, gold. It populated with gold certificate 1934, gold coin. I just left it at gold and clicked enter. And then it was populated with many links. I didn't know where to begin, where to go. I'm sure I could have been lost for days, and time would have stood still, and I would have came out of this like Rip Van Winkle. Scrolling through, I see status report of U.S. Government Gold Reserve. So, being the link I desired, I clicked it. And here we find ourselves in the status report of U.S. Government Gold Reserve. The status report of U.S. Government Gold Reserve report reflects gold bullion and gold coins owned by the federal government, summarizes the fine troy ounces and the book value of gold held by various facilities, identifies the value of gold coins and bullion on display at Federal Reserve banks, coins and bullion in reserve at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and gold held by U.S. Mint facilities. Again, it reads, The book value of gold is currently $42.22 per troy ounce. The information used to compile this reporting is received from the U.S. Mint, Federal Reserve banks, and the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. Oh, you're going to get sick of this. The book value of gold is currently $42.22 per troy ounce. I want you to remember that. This is the current report from March 31st, 2020, so not too long ago. Stay up to date with Gold Report. Department of the Treasury, Bureau of the Fiscal Service Status Report of U.S. Government Gold Reserves, March 31st, 2020. Summary, gold bullion. And they declare they hold 258,641,878.085 troy ounces, with a book value of $10,920,429,099.23. And below this it says gold coins, blanks, miscellaneous. And they hold there in fine troy ounces 2,857,048.156 fine troy ounces. And the book value there, well, they say $120,630,858. So 120 roughly $1 million in book value for the gold coins, blanks, and miscellaneous. The total with both of them, that's all of the gold bullion, gold coins, blanks, and miscellaneous. In troy ounces, they have 261,498,926 and a quarter ounces of fine troy ounce gold. The book value for all of that being $11,041,059,957.90. So just ponder that for one moment. The book value, again, on the books, just about $11 billion in gold coin, valued at $42.22, the statutory price of gold. Now, I did some rough math. Not very rough. It was exact. I used a calculator, so I think I know what I'm doing here. I multiplied the total fine troy ounces they declare that they have as of last month times today's price in gold. Now, today gold closed at $1,745.70. $1,745.70. Not the $42 per ounce they have by law, the statutory price, that is. And we come up with this number here, $456,498,675,538.91. Let's just call it $457 billion. Essentially, the bailout that bailout number, what was it? 3.5 they just came out with. So they just sent basically, I'm saying basically because that's basically what they did, the entire amount of gold reserves. Now they've injected, if I'm not mistaken, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, we've been doing videos on this since forever, and just recently, it's been in the trillions. 6 trillion, I think $7 trillion they've thrown at the current crisis, the Fed, the Treasury. There's a new relationship, modern monetary theory. Trillions, which is, again, a trillion is 1,000 billions. And right now, well, it's 456 billion. I want you to think of that for one moment. How much money they've circulated and put out there. And the total valuation of gold we saw here on this one part of this one report. Further down below, it breaks down where the mint-held gold deep storage is located in the amounts, the book value, and then the amount in fine troy ounces. The troy ounces amount is on the left column. The book value is on the right. You can see Denver, Fort Knox, West Point, and then the subtotal. And then mint-held treasury gold, working stock, all locations, coins, blanks, miscellaneous. Roughly 2,783,218 fine troy ounces. And then you've got the book value on the right there, $117,513,614 there. And then below that, it breaks down gold bullion, Federal Reserve Banks, New York Vault, Federal Reserve Banks display, and then the subtotal in bullion being 13,378,981 troy ounces. And then, of course, the statutory book value at $42 per ounce is there on the right. Again, all of those numbers add up to the numbers we saw earlier, the one we calculated based on and discussed. And you can see the total Federal Reserve Bank held gold. There it is, 13,452,810 ounces. And then below that, the total U.S. government gold reserve, that's the original number, that's the one we calculated based on, is 261,498,926 troy ounces fine, with the book value on the right there. And I'll just show you again the calculation we came up with the total U.S. government gold reserve. Now they give you a little bit of definitions down below. They tell you again what the book value, the deep storage, and the working stock mean. And here you can read, book value is the Department of the Treasury records U.S. government-owned gold reserve at the value stated in 31 U.S. Code 5116-5117 statutory rate, which is $42.222 per fine troy ounce of gold. So there's the code right there. That's the law that declares the value of gold at $42 per ounce. The market value of the gold reserves based on the London gold fixing as of September 28, 2019 was $388.4 billion. That was as of September 28th. Deep storage, that portion of the U.S. government-owned gold bullion reserve, which the Mint secures in sealed vaults that are examined annually by the Treasury Department's Office of the Inspector General and consists primarily of gold bars. Working stock is that portion of the U.S. government gold reserve which the Mint uses as the raw material for minting congressionally authorized coins and consists of bars, blanks, unsold coins, and condemned coins. The gold reserve held by the Department of the Treasury is partially offset by a liability for gold certificates issued to the Federal Reserve Banks at the statutory rate, which Treasury may redeem at any time. Again, the statutory rate, $42.22. And as we were told earlier in this discussion, the Fed does not own any gold, and nor can they redeem the certificates they own for said gold. Again, as of March 30th, 2020, total U.S. government gold reserves was valued at roughly $457 billion U.S. dollars. Now, I found myself on this page, and I don't recall exactly which link within links got me to land here, but this is the Department of the Treasury, United States Mint, notes to the schedule of custodial gold and silver reserves as of September 30th, 2005 and 2004. At September 30th, 2005 and 2004, the market value of gold was $473.25 per troy ounce and $415.65 per troy ounce, respectively. Gold inventories consisted of the following at September 30th. And you can see there in 2004 and 5, the number of troy ounces did not change at all. The statutory value did not change at all. Of course, the market value did change slightly, and you can see that there on the right. Now, let's go to the middle part. This is the only information that I could find on silver at all. And it said at September 30th, 2005 and 4, the market value of silver was $7.53 per troy ounce and $6.66 per troy ounce, respectively. Silver inventories consisted of the following at September 30th. And then you've got troy ounces there. It says in 2004 and 5 they stayed the same. They had 7,075,171 troy ounces. That's it, 7 million troy ounces. The statutory value, 9,147,000 $58,696. So there's a statutory value for silver. Let's find out what that is in just a moment. The market value, it changed, but you can see there $53,276,039. That's for 2005. So in order to find the statutory value, because I couldn't find it anywhere, we need to divide the number of ounces and the value from the value that they placed upon them. Now, being I've never looked up the statutory value of silver, never really tried, never really dawned upon me, and I know some of you are familiar with this because this number then rang a bell. I did the math, and it's $1.29. So it's $1.29 is the statutory value. That's the value by law that the United States government places on a fine troy ounce of silver. Now this is where the silver guys are going to jump up and down and really flood the comments. And you should. You can. You've got permission, because this is some interesting information. The United States government and their entirety of their reserves holds 34 troy ounces of gold for every 1 ounce of silver. Again, they hold 34 ounces of AU for every 1 ounce of AG. Think of that for a moment. 35 times the amount of gold is held in these vaults and coins and plankets and reserves according to these documents, but this is based on 2004 and 2005 numbers. Now, I might be off somewhere. I might be missing some documents or some information. I don't know. Again, this is a deep rabbit hole, a lot of mystery here. And this isn't the point of this video. I just thought that this particular factoid that I came across, the fact that they own only 7 million ounces of silver compared to the 245,262,000 ounces of gold. Interesting discovery, if anything. Do with that information what you will. Come up with conclusions. I'm sure many of you will. And it does, I will admit, speak to the somewhat scarcity that some people purport exists for silver. Now, I know there's disagreements. I myself have my own opinion on why that might be, on why, due to the monetization and the history of gold as reserves and the relationship, this mysterious relationship between the Treasury and the Fed and gold certificates, the irredeemability of those certificates, the statutory price of gold being $42 an ounce. Do with that information what you will. But I do think it's interesting that they hold 34 ounces of gold for every 1 ounce of silver. Now, I know I've bored you all to death for 32 minutes, so let's wrap this up. The question is, do you think they'd ever sell this gold? I mean, we heard from Bernanke, they only hold it out of tradition. I mean, why would you hold $457 billion merely out of tradition, especially when you're the greatest debtor nation there it really is? We're $24 trillion in debt and growing. Why not sell the gold? Sell it to the people. I'm sure we'd line up and buy it. Heck, you know what? I think everybody here on this channel would be happy to gobble up as much of that gold at $42 an ounce as possible. You know what? Let's double it. Who here would give them $84 per ounce for all that gold in there? We'll all line up, and everyone, all the people that wish to, can purchase gold at twice the statutory book value. You know what? No. Let's triple it. Let's give them 3 times statutory book value for that gold. And that would be $126.67. Now, in order to reach the fair market price, the paper price, the COMEX price, the $1,745.70, you would have to multiply their statutory, their legal book value of $42 per ounce times 41.3. You'd have to multiply it times 41 times in order to reach just the current market price. Now, in the trillions of dollars they've mass printed and released into circulation, we've discussed this numerous times. They have printed, just recently in the last month or so, the entire value at current market price at $1,745 an ounce. They have printed the entire supply of gold, all physical gold that exists above ground, since the beginning of time, all gold that's ever been mined, all gold in jewelry, coins, bars, every ounce in every vault, in every tooth, all of it, since human existence, they monetized and printed in paper and flooded the planet with it. So that just goes to show you the true value of what gold should be. And again, you can do the math on that, the amount of paper in circulation. Well, the U.S. debt clock tells us that it would be approximately $19,000 per ounce. So when you look at gold at $1,745 an ounce, it's just a number. Just like the statutory price of $42.22 is just a number. Because nowhere else, other than between the Fed and the Treasury in this bizarre, twisted relationship, this tryst that they exist in, only there are coupons exchanged, and never gold, with this mythological price, this dream of $42 an ounce that no one will ever see. No person. I mean, show up at the steps of the Fed with $42.22. Oh, actually, the Fed doesn't own any gold, so you can't buy it from them. I'm sorry. Go to the Treasury and ask the Treasury to sell it to you. Well, they won't. The stuff that they're holding for the mint as custodians, because the mint sells gold. Last time I bought gold from the mint was a 2009 ultra high relief, and I believe I paid $996 for it, or $970, $980, something in that range. It was $900 something dollars. So the mint sells gold for more than the free market price oftentimes. They sell it for, the market price, paper price, plus the seigniorage charge and the collectible charge and things like that. But the mint never will sell you gold that they get for free because they're part of the government. So they have it on book, on paper, the statutory price by law at $42 an ounce. I think we the people, we should demand, hey, you confiscated the gold from us back in 1933. We'd like it back. Release the gold. Free the gold. And sell it back at your statutory price, $42 an ounce. And then let the free market take it from there. We'll see where it goes. Heck, instead of a stimulus check, instead of sending everyone $1,200, why don't you just send every single American an ounce of gold from the strategic reserves or the stockpile or whatever you want to call it? Why not send everyone a couple ounces of gold? That would be nice, wouldn't it? If everyone got a troy ounce or two, compliments of the United States government, because they don't need it anymore. It's only out of tradition, right? Oh well, it was a fun journey tonight. Thanks for joining me into the depths of the Federal Reserve and the information that they try to disclose anyways. I don't know how honest it is, how clear it is, but it is what it is. So again, thanks for the subscribing, liking the channel here, the videos, for sharing these videos, even on a late night like tonight. Some of you are going to be up watching this on the premiere. I appreciate each and every one of you. All of you have a good night, and thanks for tuning in to the Junius Maltby channel.